allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Bryan Board of Public Affairs meeting for March 15th, 2022. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the March 1st, 2022 meeting. Board members, you've been supplied with a copy of the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the March 1st minutes as written.
I second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Next is a hearing of public concerns. Anyone present that would like to address the board? Seeing none, clerk treasurer's report.
The board's been provided with a copy of the clerk treasurer's report for the month ending February 28th, 2022.
Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to accept the clerk treasurer's report.
Second.
Tom?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Next is a resolution. Laura, will you number and read, please?
Resolution number 16, 2022, to approve revisions to the Brine Communications Department Exhibit B Internet access rates to update internet speeds.
Joe, you want to
Joe?
talk about that?
This update to the Exhibit B is simply to list on our rules and regs the new upstream speeds that we instituted some time ago. We just want to get it on the record. Basically what we did is the standard internet, high speed, 10 megabits, it stays the same at 768 kilobits. The enhanced internet, 30 megabits downstream, we almost doubled that from 768 to 1.5 megabits. And then for our business customers that still get 30 megabits downstream, we increased their upstream from about 1 megabit to 3 megabits. And that's what we did. No rate change, none of that.
So we improved the service. Any questions for Joe? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Thank you, Joe.
I'll make a motion that we approve the, and make it a formality about the internet access rates where we updated them recently.
Second.
Karen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Next is a request to hire an account clerk. Jackie?
Good evening, everyone. As you're aware, we had an account clerk position open that the board gave us permission to post. We received 30-some applications through the recruitment process. Derek, Nate, and I interviewed 10 of those candidates. And at this time, we are respectfully requesting to hire Megan Weiler as a probationary account clerk 2, and she will start on April the 4th. She attended the Indiana University, Purdue, or IPFW in Fort Wayne with a major in organizational leadership, supervision, and actually a minor in sociology. She has experience in the daily tasks that we are looking for in the account clerk with the accounts payable, as well as she has some diversified skills that we believe will help with the administrative side, analyzing data as needed, helping out where there are some overflow of work that we're trying to get done that we haven't been able to get done.
She has good credentials.
Yes, she does.
Any questions? Motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is a request to post a water superintendent position.
Yes, the water superintendent position has been open since January when Derek was promoted to the operations manager. And at this time, we would like to start that recruitment process. We wanted to fill the account clerk position first, as well as let Derek get his feet a little bit wet. And it's always very difficult to transition to a new position when you're also trying to help somebody else out to take your place. So we've had some internal discussions, and we're ready to take that step down, please.
Comments, questions?
I will move to approve the request to post the water superintendent position.
I'll second it.
Tom?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is a presentation of the 2021 Year in Review Communications Utility.
Well, this should be the final 2021 year in review presentation of our little mini-series we've got going on here, so hopefully it's a good ending for everything. So, we'll talk first about the financial highlights. So, let's get started by looking at the 2021 communications financials, starting with our fund balances. So we began the year in the 509 Communications Fund with just over $2.3 million. We had our revenues come in at almost $2.2 million, and our expenses coming in at about $2.37 million. This left us a deficit of $178,537. Our 2021 budgeted margin of revenues less expenses were anticipated to have a deficit of about $600,000. So we were able to transfer $53,510 to our 535, which is the Communications Capital Reserve Fund, giving us an ending balance in the 509 of just over $2 million, and netting a deficit just over $232,000 overall for the year. So the 535 Capital Fund started the year with just over $88,000 in it. We anticipated the $53,510 transfer to the 535, which we did end up transferring just that. We budgeted capital expenses to be $121,837, and we ended up spending just $32,184, which gave us an ending balance of $109,390, which left us a margin for the year end of $21,326. Overall, our combined 509 and our 535 together Communication Department fund balance began the year with $2.39 million. We ended the year with just over $2.18 million, resulting in a decrease of $210,721. So this chart breaks down our sales in 2021 by cable TV, internet, fiber. Our cable revenues for 2021 generated over $1.1 million. Internet sales were just over $800,000, and our fiber was just under $150,000. You can see that 55% of our sales last year were from cable TV, followed by 38% from the internet, and finally only 7% was from fiber. This chart breaks down our customers per service subscription as provided by our communication department in 2021. You can see the steady decline in the cable TV over the years. 2021 may be a little misleading as we have some customers who kind of bounce back and forth from our competition. You know, when their rates go up, they jump back to Bryan, so that number kind of fluctuates somewhat. I think we're currently right around 1,200 customers. Internet also shows a slight decline, and then fiber, which has typically remained steady over the years, as you can see. This chart breaks down our total sales revenue of all the communication subscribers over the last 4 years. You can see a slight decline over the last few years, mainly related to factors we'll go into more detail in our next presentation. So a summary: in February of last year, the board voted to discontinue the digital cable and HD services. This was carried out starting in, I think, in May of 21. The decision was made due to the market condition, costs associated with equipment upgrades, along with the timelines in order to carry out some of these upgrades. We're watching our finances closely, adjusting as necessary with current conditions of rising costs and increased lead times on materials, which everybody's seeing, and it seems to be getting worse. As with other departments, we started issuing purchase orders quarterly in 21 instead of the yearly blanket POs. This allows us to monitor more closely the budget over the year, so we're continuing this process with just a few minor modifications to it. We'll also continue to take advantage of our skilled workforce in saving costs over the year. So with that, anybody have any questions concerning the financials so far? And if not, I will turn it over to Joe and let him talk about some of the projects from last year.
Last year on the cable television side, we entered the year with a little over 1,200 analog customers. We're continuing to pass through the additional HD off-air broadcast signals at no additional cost to the customers, even though in several cases the programmers are charging us. But we've been passing it through to the folks. On the HFC Internet, our cable modem service, we're continuing to install more of the enhanced internet, which is the 30 megabits, and more folks have started signing up for that, and that's largely because of the amount of bandwidth that people are using in the homes versus what used to be the fact. They just need more speed. And then we're offering we still offer the 10 meg for those folks that don't need those speeds, and at a lower cost to those folks. Then we entered the year with a little less than 1,500 internet customers, and that doesn't count fiber. That's your cable modem customers. On fiber optic projects, we worked on industrial park fiber for the substation interconnect. Even though it's been out there a couple of years, we still worked last year to do more fiber interconnect to connect that. And a lot of that is to connect industrial park back down to Daggett, because Daggett's going to become a spur until that substation is retired and decommissioned. So that was a fairly large project there. A large part of our work last year was preparing the AMI fiber infrastructure. This was a very large project for our department, and we now can inform you folks that 8 of the 10 gatekeeper collection locations are now active and ready to operate with meters. Also during that time, we did some upgrades to some substations. This communications network, we placed some of these devices right in the substations, which gives us room to grow the network in those substations. We did Williams County Title Office and Marks Tower, communications tower out there with a license bureau. We installed fiber to both of those locations, and that adds one more connection for Williams County on our fiber network, that we backhaul their communications back to their main facility for their network. We have several of those connections currently. And completing the new outer ring fiber construction, we completed the actual stringing of the fiber and got it all finally built, and we are now in the process of splicing that. That's a very large fiber cable, if any of you've seen it, and it takes a while to splice it. So we're in the process of doing that as we speak. On the network side, as I said earlier, the engineering and installation of the AMI network also was just not the backhaul for the meters, but also the big UCOM servers for AMI. That is the servers that operate this AMI system for application operations and data. And those servers will eventually report the meter readings and all the data to the clerk's office for billing each month. And that will be a seamless process. Those are operating over in the head end as we speak. And then all of the licensing and performance of the network, which we have a lot of licensing that we have to spend quite a few dollars on every year to operate the utility. This isn't just for communications, this is for the entire utility and the city that operates off our network. And then we had several software and server applications. They seem to come up with new ones all the time that we have to install. And our IT department and Cody and Heath do a great job with that to maintain and take care of that for us. The BMU video, we're still continuing with, even through the pandemic and all, and even trying to come out of that now. We're still doing the BPA and council meetings, and there's some other programs we still do. The commercial advertising, we did that last year, late last year. That has come to an end due to the equipment failure at the head end. It's analog equipment, you can't even replace it anymore. All the ad insertion equipment in the country is digital. It's for digital systems. So that's why we got out of that business. And it was winding down anyway, so. But we keep KB quite busy. Future plans, we plan to construct a new fiber route this year in the downtown section. The inner ring that's been in place for years, we're going to overlay that with another one. The existing ring will stay in place, but we're going to overlay it with another one. This is for future capacity. Also, that ring will also be designed to interconnect into the new substation at the power plant when we get that built completed. That will be a communications for that power plant sub. And also, it will also connect in for water treatment and for SCADA and so forth in the future there. We're going to construct some more fiber at the Brine Industrial Park this year. We've got to do, I won't get too technical, but we're going to build the existing outer ring. There's a portion of that has to be rebuilt and rerouted because of the pole line being relocated on East Wilson Street. We have to reconnect all those circuits that currently go through that on a different route, and then so we can rebuild that fiber and then splice everything back over. That's going to be a large project, and the electric department works with us on those large projects because it's just so much fiber for us to build. We really appreciate that. More fiber infrastructure for the BMU and city departments. That's where we're trying to keep upgrading the fiber. We're trying to make it more redundant and et cetera. And also, this isn't fiber infrastructure, but it's a network type thing. We're working on planning to possibly pull the city side in to our network, especially regarding the change in some of those things. And it's a long process, but we're working on that to bring them over where everybody be under one umbrella, so to speak. Curtin substation fiber optic, we got the fiber built in. We did that over the winter. The electric department, our guys, they built the new fiber into Curtin. That will tie in to the new outer ring, the 288 we call it. That will tie in. We're getting ready to do that in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And what will happen, that will put that substation on this big ring that we built. That way all these substations except Cherry will communicate on that one ring. Cherry will be a spur, because as you folks know, worked in the electric department, you know, that 69 is a spur. You know, it's just the way it is. So, the satellite C-band upgrade project, we'll discuss this later. This project will be quite expensive because of the FCC C-band. They've compressed these programs and these signals on these satellite earth stations. The current earth stations do not support that compression very well. So that's a different project. And then hopefully I'm going to work on planning and engineering again for the communications building this year. I will be working with Nate real closely on that up to budget time, and trying to come up with some alternative ways to get the cost down on it. But I highly recommend, folks, this building needs to be done. Your straight line winds are a small tornado from losing the whole city. So that's where we have. So, anybody, any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is just personal curiosity, and if you don't even know, that's fine too. You can get back to me later, Joe. It's not that big a deal. But on the HFC internet, I was curious. Currently, what's the percent difference between those that are 30 and 10? Is it like 50-50, 70-30?
It's probably close to 70-30.
Oh, really?
Most people have upgraded.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Because 10 meg, if you've got more than one user in the house, and if they're streaming much video, much Netflix or anything
Sure.
like that, 10 meg just doesn't do it.
Yeah, well, that was because there's been a decrease in the internet subscriber use. Do they want more even? That's really where I get.
Some folks are wanting more than what we can provide.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
70-30 and people want more. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Sorry.
That's why we're here, answer questions, so that's what this is all about. And if you don't mind, we can just jump right into
Sure.
our agenda item
Presentation.
number 8, which is a presentation that I wanted to kind of talk and focus more on just the cable television side of things. So I want to take this opportunity to give the board an update as far as we just finished presenting the 22-year in review, and you saw, last year overall wasn't really a stellar year. So I wanted to kind of get into the cable side of it, just to dive into that a little bit. So just a brief history. I'm not going to go into the whole history of the communication department, but it was back in 1997, the city retained Stanley Consultants to prepare a preliminary assessment of the existing and future communication needs of the city, its residents, and its businesses. So a feasibility study identified potential communication applications, provided estimated costs for installing an HFC system throughout the city and the adjacent areas, which would enable the city to provide multiple communication type services. So you hear everybody talking about HFC and hybrid fiber coax and stuff like that. I just want to educate some people that may not know, maybe mostly people at home that aren't aware of some of this stuff. But HFC you hear us talk about is our hybrid fiber coax, and it's primarily used for our cable TV and our internet, among a few other things, of course. But we're going to continue to use the HFC to contribute to needs of our upcoming AMI. It'll play a small role in that as far as some of the backhauling of the data that we're collecting. So we'll still continue to take advantage of another side of this. So I wanted to talk about total cable TV subscribers. This is we have two packages. We have a basic and extended package as far as our cable TV. I thought this was interesting to go back to 2000 and kind of look over the last 20 years at our television subscribers, for instance. It shows how we build up our subscribers over the years. Then slowly, there was a steady decline, almost starting in like 2006. You can see that 2502, and then just basically a slow decline ever since. There may be slight variations in this number that you see per cable customers. One is because sometimes people took it at the end of the year, and I like to kind of take it as an average over the year, because we do get people that jump around. We get, our competitors will sit there and offer a pretty good rate. And then after that rate goes away, these people would jump ship and come over to this side of the cable, and, you know, for a while. So we get these people that jump back and forth. But overall, no matter how you look at this, what was counted, it's not that big of a difference in numbers. It's a decline. And actually, you know, that 2021, the 1239, we're as what, the lowest we've been in 21 years. So I thought this chart was kind of interesting to show you that. And you know, why is that? You know, I want to kind of dive into that a little bit, and maybe, you know, I don't know if I have the answer, but I have some answers that I think that might tell us more about that when we get to that. So I just wanted this one. I didn't really want to go back into time too crazy. I just wanted to show you. I mean, we've already talked about a lot of financials, but this gives us a more recent look at our cable TV revenues over the last few years. It includes even the first few months, of course, of this year, just to give you some where we're at right now. So the green line at the top, it represents the revenue history per month for the year 2019. Of course, it jumps around by month, but basically it's running around $120,000 a month. The next line, which is representing the year 2020, it shows an ending year at about $110,000 per month in revenue. So, and then in 2021, the ending year at the end was $95,000 at the end of the month. And finally, if you look down there in 2022, you know, in February, we're down to what, $88,000, you know, for this past month. So, I mean, rough numbers. You don't have to be a mathematician to sit there and figure out that, you know, since 2019, that's almost $30,000 a month decrease in just the cable TV. So, just wanted to kind of share that with you. So, you know, let's look at some of these technology changes over the years. Have they had an effect on us? You know, we said we'd go back and talk about some of these reasons, you know, why maybe our customers have declined over the years. You know, if you look in the mid-2000s where this thing started tapering off, one possible reason for this was a market trend of growing cord cutters. People wanted to watch what they wanted to watch when they wanted to watch it. And starting in those years, streaming services started to pop up. You know, Sling, Hulu, YouTube, TV, DirecTV, you know, Netflix, all were gaining popularity about that time frame. So in the mid-2000s, we were beginning of the television programs becoming available via the internet. YouTube was launched in 2005. Netflix exploded in popularity in 2007, offering subscribers options to stream some of their movies and television shows directly to their home through a simple internet connection. So, and I think 2008, Hulu, you know, jumped on the bandwagon. So, is it the answer? Maybe, maybe not, but it contributed. Technology has changed over the years. We're seeing an increase in it. This is just one thing that we can look at that there's a possibility of how technology has changed and how it affects not only our cable company, but many across the country. So, also I want to talk about the rising costs, specifically programming. Programmers have dramatically raised their fees to carry their channels, making it harder for smaller cable companies like ours. We're not only ones declining subscribers, there's many across the country that are falling into this same thing. Network fees have increased dramatically over the last 15 years. There's also been an increase in the level of consolidation of the media industry. As far as, I think there's basically 6 media companies that pretty much control these things, as far as Comcast, Walt Disney, AT&T, Viacom, CBS, Sony, and Fox. And that helps them dictate the price a little bit. You know, when there's fewer of them, it's less competition, and they can kind of, you know, dictate their price a little bit. Not all due to that, but it's another contributor. So more about the programming fees. What are they? They're fees that are charged by the various networks to carry their channels. B&B pays a fee for every household, a subscriber or sub we call them, that receives this package. Regardless of whether anyone in the house watches it or not, we have to pay for it. These networks set up rules for how their shows and networks can be sold to our subscribers, how they're bundled, which packages they're in, so they have total control over how that works. Then we also have retransmission fees. Even if you can pick something up with your antenna outside your house, like our local broadcasting, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, those types of channels, we still pay retransmission fees. So, competition. We're trying to compete with large cable and streaming corporations. It's become increasingly challenging, not only for us, but then, again, we're not the only ones that are seeing this. This is happening all over. Everything that I read, and Joe and I send things back and forth, it's happening all over. It's not unique to us. Our large competitors have more subscribers to spread out these services. So if cable rates go up, they have just as many internet customers that they can spread these costs across. We're limited by the number of subscribers. It's a finite number that we can reach out, and so we don't have unlimited customers. We can't go out about our bounds and start picking up customers. It's a finite number that we're dealing with. And we're also limited in funding to upgrade our infrastructure. I mean, you see how much we were able to transfer over to our capital. What was it, like $50,000? It's hard to reinvest in a cable company with changing technologies when you have so few dollars to roll into it. Sounds like it is pretty good when you're talking $2 million, but you'll see that these programming fees and stuff eat up a lot of that. It looks a lot better than what it is as far as that part of it. So we'll discuss that a little bit more. So we're limited to upgrade our infrastructure and keep up with technology, basically, because of that limited amount of funding that we have. This is kind of, I don't know, a couple of these I wanted to show you that they might look alike to you, but I'll try to explain to you that it gives us some perspective of how our fees and our programs affect us directly. But first, this one shows our rates. This is what we charge for our 2 cable TV packages, the basic, and then we have the extended, which is the extended basic. I like to call it extended basic. So going back to 2015, and our current rates over there, if you look off to the right, is $36.74 a month for basic and $79.34 a month for extended. Okay. In 2016, you can see we had no rate increase, at that time. And then again in 2020 and 2021, we had no rate increases. And currently in 22, we haven't raised the rates either. But and I don't know why. I don't know why we did, but I think it'll be clear when we get to the next one that 2016, I think we might have been in between directors, and 2020 was a pandemic, and people were already struggling to pay their electric bills and different things like that, so we didn't want to just sit there and raise rates. There's reasons why, but I wanted you to see what these rates are and what it could look like if we would have raised rates and try to keep up with programming fees. So I just wanted to show you that one, and it may look similar to this one. That's why I said that some of this stuff is, but this is the programming fees. And this is what we pay for our programming fees since 2015, about the same time frame. And you can see, looking at $44.93 a month for basic and $71.30 a month for extended, right? That's for each one. Now you need to add those together for a basic extended package. It's not just one or the other like the other one was. You need to add these together. So for programming fees, it's the $71.30, the $44.93, which puts you over almost $116 a month. So that's what our programming fees are. So what's that look like? It looks like this. It looks like our zero line right there. If you kind of look at that, with our declining revenues, we're losing almost $37 a month per sub. You can see that 37 down there and 22. That's how much we're undercharging. We're losing $37 a month in our according to our programming fees that we're looking at. This doesn't even include the operation and maintenance expenses, other fees such as the NCTC fees. An example, if an extended customer who currently pays $79.34, then they have the deficit of almost $37. In order for B&U to recover just the programming fees, it would be over that $116 a month that I talked about. So it's hard to charge our customers that $116 a month to stay competitive. I think we'd lose a lot of them if we started charging for an analog product $116 a month. So I think it's clear when you kind of look at some of this stuff, it's not good news. It's not good news at all. So I think that I wanted to kind of show that to you. And this kind of puts those together. I know it seems repetitive, but I mean, if you look at this and you can see around that 2017 timeframe, how the blue line, which is the programming costs, as they increased over the years, and our rates, how they stayed the same. You could say we should have raised the rates, and we could have, but that's what we would have been paying. If we would have raised the rates, we'd have been paying, our customers would have been paying $116 a month for just to cover the programming fees. I think that's important to understand. It's not the O&M. That's making no money, and that doesn't even cover our O&M or the other fees that are related to cable. So it's when you put it into something like this, it's not a pretty sight. So I think I'm going to have Joe just come up here and kind of talk about some of the challenges that we have in our operation and our maintenance expenses, and then we'll get back to a few more things. So.
To connect the financial information that Nate's presented to you, I'd like to discuss common sense real world scenarios that we have here. As it states there, this system's almost 24 years old. I started construction in 1998 and completed it, and it's been operating ever since. The average age to upgrade most systems is 10 to 15 years. Most operators, every 10 to 15 years, they do an electronic upgrade, head-end upgrade, and they upgrade their technology, especially stay in time with internet changing as rapidly as it is. We've done some upgrades, we've done some internet upgrades, or we would be not in business now, but we haven't kept up with where we should be, and that's totally financial situation. Due to the technology changes, and that ties back to the Seabound that I mentioned earlier in the year-end presentation, this system needs to be upgraded to all digital services. What that means is that analog head end over there needs to be totally changed out and upgraded to a digital product. Not only that, but those earth stations would have to be totally changed out to brand new units. These cost estimates would be about probably $600,000 or greater if we did everything we needed to do. That does not count doing an electronic upgrade on the HFC out in the outside plant. But that would be head end, digital, changing the analog to digital, and it would be all the associated customer equipment that would go into the homes that we have to purchase, which would be set-top boxes and DTAs or digital terminal adapters. Considering the number of subs and programming costs and revenues, there's no expected return on the expense. Just put it in plain English for everyone, numbers don't work, folks. And questions, where do we go from here? We wanted to present the board the challenges that we face here. We want and we request your views on the subject, what your thoughts are on the direction for the cable television service, what our options are. But I need to be specific. This does not affect internet service. This does not affect it. So that's where we're at. Some of the options that we have, we can continue down the current path. We will have to spend dollars because to make the system work with the new C-band compression. We can invest more dollars into the system and infrastructure, change the technology. We can increase rates to cover costs, not only the cost of the programming, as Nate told you folks earlier, the $116, that pays for programming, nothing else. All equipment repairs we have to make and et cetera, outside plant and all like that, that doesn't cover any of that. The finite number of customers, as he stated earlier, is you have so many homes passed in this city, you have so many competitors and operators here. There's a certain number of homes that you can get with you can throw marketing dollars at it, you can do everything, you're going to get a certain number of subs, that's all you're going to get. You have to generate cash flow for that. The other would be to suspend offering cable television service, as I stated earlier. It'd be crucial we retain our internet customers, and that's what we strive to do. And I might add, when a customer calls our help desk, we respond pretty quickly to that request to try to take care of these customers. We work with them, we place test modems in their house, which most operators will not do, to try to come up with a problem, try to help them. Just to put it in perspective in your mind, generally in our industry, for you to be profitable to continue to operate, the minimum number of customers that an operator needs to have is about 5,000 subs. If what you do is broadband and cable, that's the number. And now, with new technology changes today, you're better off to have 15,000. Obviously, we don't even have that many residents in the city. So, with that, we're obviously not looking for an answer or anything today, but I will tell you, we're up against a timeline. I'm not going to speak any dates, but I'm going to say that in the early part of this year, there is programming. If we do not install the expensive equipment and upgrade it, we will lose it. The deal elimination period is going to end. So,
Here we are, Joe. We've been talking about this for how long?
several years.
Yeah. And, you know, if I may be so blunt, shoot right in the head, you can thank the programmers. I call them thieves. They can rob you without a gun. They've driven the price, and it's not going to get any cheaper. It's just going to keep going up. And, you know, to the subscribers, they got to understand that we're not in the business to make a lot of money, but we have to support the infrastructure, the upgrades, and we just can't do it anymore. It's costing us a lot more money than we get back in revenue. So I think we knew this hard decision was coming.
The amount of money that you listed on there that it would take to bring us up to speed on this, if we did that, we would still be offering an analog product.
No, you'd have to change over to digital.
Yeah, change over to digital. So the equipment that we had here, I guess it brought us to the point that we had to make a decision to eliminate the digital. That would have to come back into play. I mean, we have to.
It'd be a different form, Jim.
Yeah.
We would own our own controller, whereas before, when we had digital, we got our products from hits.
Okay.
And then we inserted some products of our own into it, and they were able to channel map it for us. If we were to go all digital system, what we would do is we would have to get our own controller. The name of the controller is called a DAC. It's a digital access controller. It's a very sophisticated piece of equipment, and that's how you map and compress all your programming that goes out in the system.
The head-end equipment and the building. What about the nodes in the field equipment?
This does not include changing the nodes.
Okay. And I understand you to say that they're probably beyond their life expectancy, the equipment we have.
Well, they're almost 24 years old.
24 years old.
Most people know later than 15 years they upgrade.
So the life expectancy of the equipment in the field is the same as what you mentioned.
Now, we have some spares on that, Jim, and we have been able to rotate those and get them repaired. So for the foreseeable few years, we should be okay on that.
Is that equipment compatible, or when that's replaced, is that gonna, because, you know, and I know you've told me this many times, how the technology is changing and everything's advancing, and a lot of times things don't wear out, they just become obsolete.
Thankfully,
Would that be the case with the nodes and things like that?
the nodes would be obviously newer technology. The distortion and specifications would be improved. Obviously, in 20-some years, it'd be improved. But the amount of bandwidth that we can place to the system would be close to the same. It would increase up close to 200 megahertz, but theoretically may not need that. The system was designed, that they put good equipment in it when they built it, okay? And that's a good thing, or we wouldn't be here today still operating. So the equipment will mostly, for what we're doing here, the equipment will become obsolete basically once it stops operating. And the passive devices in the system, or the service taps and all, that's good equipment, it's working fine. So we don't have issues there.
So even if the cable product went away, and we maintained the internet side of it,
Yes,
we would still have equipment to replace.
yes, the internet is on, the internet's on different bandwidth frequencies. The internet is operated off of CMTS, that's a cable modem termination system. We have several of those across the city, substations at the head end. And that equipment is what processes your internet and sends it down the carriers to the home, and then the modem sees those carriers and operates accordingly. That set of carriers and that band that it's located in is a totally different band than the cable television product. They're not dependent on each other in any form or fashion.
So if you did away with the cable completely, that would not open up our bandwidth for internet?
It will open the bandwidth up as much as we're capacity there. You have on the internet, you have what we call port circuits, okay? And each one of these CMTS units has a number of cards in them that we can expand up the capacity as we can to, until we exhaust the capacity of that card. The equipment that we have is to a point where it's hard to get the extra cards for it to expand that capacity. But we run tests all the time behind the scenes to put a stress test basically on it to see what it'll do, etc. The internet could be upgraded for the whole system, and we could purchase one big CMTS that would go on the head end, and it would do the same thing as one of our sister utilities did a few years ago, the one where you and Tom, I believe, went up there with us. Okay, they use one big CMTS, but it's very expensive. It can be done.
I mean, just my way of thinking is, you know, I guess I gotta be blunt again, is we're losing money in the cable business, cable TV business. Would it make more sense with the trend being streaming, because I think that's getting bigger and bigger, is to get out of the cable TV business and kind of invest in the internet business, you know? I mean, that makes more sense to me. Just
Well, you mentioned 5,000 subscribers to 15,000 subscribers. How many meters do we have in Brine? Is it in 6,000 range?
6,000 electric, like 4,000 water.
And you're mentioning 5 to 15,000.
Well, I have like, what, 8,500
I mean,
residents?
even if every household subscribed, how do you make it pay? Doesn't look like it to me.
That's a general number of subscribers that the operator needs to generate enough cash flow to operate and to do capital improvements. The industry basically has been supported by debt and interest for decades. That's the world I come from. What they do, the reason they do these big upgrades to the systems, and I'm glad that they're able to, they do it by debt per subscriber. Being a municipal operator, we could not do that here. And when I first came here, it took me a while to totally understand it. But you can't do it here. As you know, we just paid off that big debt a couple of years ago, thankfully. And so we are at the cash we are, and you know, there may be some customers that think we have $2.2 million in fund balance. It's all well and good. There's only a percentage of that, and it's not a large percentage. We can pull that fund balance down. And that has to do with the limitations of what we can spend, and Lori and the clerk treasurer, they stay on top of that for us. So, you know, I want everybody to understand we don't have $2 million. You know, I say we can upgrade this cable system for $600,000, and we don't have $2 million that we can pull that out of. We lost almost $180,000 last year in programming deficits, not counting any other expense. And the reason we're coming to the board this evening is because we're backed into a corner because of the C-band upgrade and the technology additions that have to be made to that head end.
I guess that's a monster they've created. I mean, with technology, everything, it's so expensive.
Of course, like, you know, you had said, we've talked many times, Joe, about the Spectrums, the Viacoms, the Disneys. These are big companies. They lose 1,000 customers. That ain't no big deal to them. You know, we lose 5, and it hurts us. You just can't, I guess for lack of better words, we've lost our ability to compete. We just can't do it anymore. Because if we were to dump a bunch of money into the system, those costs are still the programming costs are still gonna go out of control. Plus, we have to pass on that and it's just gonna get to the point where, you know, you just can't, if it's gonna cost $115 a month, everybody's gonna start looking at the Spectrums and Dish and whatever they can do to save money. I know we've kicked this can down the road and put Band-Aids on and tried to survive, but we're at that point where I think we have to make some hard decisions.
And the broadcasting costs, I know you and I have talked about that, and what, like Dick brought up, that's only going to keep going up. I know what, a couple months back, I think I was in and talked to you, and you told me about the check you wrote for one of the channels that we carry, and I remember you told me that. I'm thinking, how long can this go on? It's horrible. I guess we have a decision.
May I ask Joe? Sure. Thanks. Joe, one, correct me if I'm wrong, did BMU put fiber in for most of the county schools with broadband when NOACA started and they needed network back in the history of BMU? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so when we talk about broadband across the state, and there's been a lot of government meetings, one thing I'd like to point out is for whatever reason, the grants that were coming for internet and broadband from the state, we're cutting out municipal government. And that's something that I've been talking to the governor's office about nonstop. AMP has actually gotten involved even though they're power because they know that it's not right. The federal government is trying to rectify some of that. My worry is for all of us, you know, Williams County, when they put the state map on internet connectivity, we are very poor for that. My worry is that if you lose cable subscribers, which I think the board knows you kind of have no choice with that, is that our community then bundles and we lose our internet customers. And that is going to be devastating, not just for Bryan, Ohio, but for the entire county. And so I would encourage the community, as they're making those decisions and they're talking to programmers, that you really do stay loyal to BMU, because I don't believe without your work here and the fiber that you've laid and the broadband that you've laid, and even with the MARC system that you last minute got a call from the commissioners so that our emergency services could go online because another service would not help them. I don't think the community knows how integral you are in that. And so I would encourage all of our customers and even our community members to use the BMU internet and keep that system alive, because if we lose you as a link, our broadband issues are going to get bigger, in my opinion. So I appreciate the work you've done for that and your department's done over the years.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate your comments, and that's what I'd like the public to understand. Those people are watching this evening, those people that will watch it later. Our department is, and I've said this many times, our department is a two-faceted department. I think some folks see us as cable and internet, and that's all we are. The entire network and fiber optic communications for this city, all the city departments, and for a large portion of Williams County is provided and maintained by this department from this utility. Just like Mayor Slade has said, all these schools that we have interconnected for Milwaukee, we have a large fiber network to these other cities and villages and so forth. So it's imperative that we keep as many of our internet customers as we can, because the revenue from that goes towards helping support this community in the county we live in, but especially for the city of Brine. So I'd like everybody to separate the two.
I just wanted to make sure people knew, like, bundling is easy, but it really would be devastating to the entire county, but certainly for our community. And I, as a mother of 3 teenagers, can tell you with BMU internet and our 30 watts, you can stream and game and have 5 smartphones. We do it every day in the Schlade house, so it can be done.
That was a good point. Very good point. And I think, Mayor and I know the government has to just kind of cut us out of the loop, but I think with the rural broadband, I think you're going to start seeing some
I hope so.
grant money and stuff, because I think it's going to come back or go the other way. And if you can guess this government, then good luck.
Any other questions, folks?
No, that was pretty simple and well presented, Joe. Thank you.
I guess regardless of what happens, we appreciate all the hard work, because I know you've, and even the other departments, working together to try and save money, keep this thing as practical as we can. I don't know, I guess, yeah, we've known for some time that this day might be coming. But it's like the mayor just said, I hate the thought of taking a step backward.
Being financially responsible, we can't keep taking losses
No,
year
no,
after
we
year
can't.
after year. And the picture, the graph tells the story. We've been taking a loss since
It does.
2009 or 8, whatever the peak was before it was
Yeah.
consistently going downward. And that's not good money management
Yeah.
right there. So we do have to make a decision.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next on the agenda is to affect semi-monthly disbursements. Can I have a motion to pay the bills, please?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Comments from BPA and staff? Nate?
Oh, I've said a lot, but I will just add this, that I think last I talked to you guys, we were hosting a very informative 2-day meeting I think it was last Monday and Tuesday with Eaton and our AMI system. So a lot of us, our whole team participated in some training on the various features of the capabilities of the Yukon software that we're going to be using for the AMI. We discussed the meter change-out procedures and many other items, and we're looking forward to maybe the next meeting, having just a kind of catch you up of where we're at and what we're kind of, these puzzle pieces are fitting together. So I mean, we'll have a better idea of how we're going to move forward with this at the next meeting. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that.
I have a couple things. One, BMU related. I missed the last meeting because I was representing all of you in Washington, D.C. for the ABPA legislative rally. We had a successful conversation with Congressman Latta, although we don't think he's going to be our congressman after this year, but who knows. And I just enjoy the collaboration with the AMP communities down there. I think we all stand to gain a lot of knowledge when we communicate and collaborate with one another, so it was a good trip. Appreciate the ability to go. And then as far as City Council, we are going to cancel next Monday's meeting due to lack of agenda items. And one of the hot topics is the garbage service within the community, which is something Council has been looking at and the administration has been looking at. So those bids will be sometime next week turned in, so that April 4th meeting, if anybody has any comments, questions, concerns about the garbage conversations, that will be presented to council that evening, and then they will actually not vote on whether to reject or accept whatever the bid is until that next meeting in April. I think it's the 18th. So there's a couple weeks in there for public comments, and I want to make sure the public knows that we welcome those, council members, administration alike. So feel free to do that once the numbers have been presented at that April 4th meeting.
Lori?
No, sir.
Mr. Betts?
I would like to emphasize that, if the mayor wouldn't mind, because a number of constituents in my ward, Ward 3, which is actually voter-wise about 3,000 of the 5,000 voters. So I hear a lot from a lot of people often, and most of their concern as it relates to the garbage piece and trash pickup is just why and what's going on. So it has not been given much press. I would like to see it given a little bit more as it relates to please come to a council person or come to the April 4th council meeting when it's so that you can get the information and be more informed. Most of the people I've talked to after I've been talking with them seem to understand and be better with it. I don't want to say totally accepting. I don't know how we leave things other than that they just understand it, and that's a good thing. So that's the only thing I want to emphasize, because I have been had a lot of discussion the last couple of weeks, and it was just a little small blurb, unfortunately, saying that the city's looking at doing something different for trash pickup, and out of that came a variety of questions. So just to emphasize that. And also I want to say that I am very glad that I was here tonight to hear Nate and Joe. That was outstanding information. Certainly not one that I'm sure the BPA members or anyone wanted to embrace or hear, but it is very much a needed conversation, and I think you guys laid it out very well. And kudos to you. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Joe, you got anything else you'd like to add? Derek? Jackie?
No, you.
Mr. Sprow?
Yeah, a couple things. Congratulations to Megan on her new hiring. And it's encouraging to see that we had over 30 applicants for that position. So there are people out there that want to go to work. It doesn't look that way when you look in the paper and see all the ads for every place for employment. And they must not be getting the people that want to work with, but they want to come to work for us. So, to Nate and Joe, thanks for the presentation. I was going to say it was eye-opening, but you know, our eyes have been open to this situation for a long time. So it just reinforces what we've been hearing for several months, and the writing's on the wall, I guess. So at a later meeting, we will, you know, visit that again and make our decision. But thank you. It was very good information, and it was especially good for people that, like John said, you know, and the mayor said, people that are watching, and we'll see it later or see it tonight, because there's a lot of things there that they don't understand that we do as utility to keep this thing going and all the benefits that it provides. So it was very good. Thanks for both of you.
Good job. That's a good way you phrased that. Yes, the numbers tell the story, the graphs show the picture. It's all there. And it is a sad topic to us. And yes, you guys did a very, very good job in presenting it. Everything you put together is very concise and right to the point. Thank you.
Mr. Long?
I'd just like to welcome Megan Weiler to the team. Looking forward to being here. Again, Nate, Joe, great. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I mean, as John said, it wasn't something we wanted to hear, but it's a reality. It is what it is. We just have to deal with it, move on. But great presentation. That's all I have.
I'm going to say congratulations to Megan. I'll be anxious to be there. And again, presentation tells it like it is. So thanks to Nate and Joe for spelling it out. So we have some things to really look at hard again and make some decisions. So yes, that's all.
Well, I'll repeat, welcome Megan to the team. Nate and Joe, it wasn't a presentation I was looking forward to, but you got all the facts, and I guess that's what we need to make a decision on this. We'll give it some hard thought and come back and deal with it. That's all I have. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.